you so much. I'm trying to hide the fact that it feels like somebody loosened every screw that's holding my pelvis together.
You're doing it.
I'm,
You're doing
I'm
it.
doing something. I don't know if I'm doing it, but I'm doing something, which I think is good.
Yep, for sure. For sure. Look, every day's a new adventure.
New adventure for something.
Yeah.
I don't know what the new adventure is going to be most days, but it is something. Oh my God, wait, I actually forgot to tell you this. I don't know if this is going to make it to the pod or not, but we'll see. So last night I take the dogs outside after I shampooed the couches because I have zero chill. And so I take the dogs outside. Indy instantly jumps up into my squash bed where all my beautiful like squash plants are. He
Of course it
jumps
does.
up in it and I go, but he's in like hunting mode.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, there's something in there. This damn dog flushes out a mouse.
And
The mouse, I'm sitting on the patio, okay? And like my abs left the chat weeks ago, okay?
yeah,
And so I am now trying to get my little leggies up off the ground so that they're not near the mouse because the mouse has run under my chair that I am actively sitting in. I'm trying to giant pregnant belly. I'm trying to get my little legs up off the ground because I'm scared of the mouse. And Lana, our Great Dane, we do not have our best people on the job. The dog we need is Cooper, okay? Cooper is blissfully unaware that any of this is going on. Instead, we have Indiana Jones, the tiny toddler, and Lana, who is the least threatening dog ever, despite being 120 pounds. So this mouse, then Lana's locked in. She's like, there's a creature. It runs from under my chair and goes up this corner siding thing.
okay.
And like, then she's like, I've got it cornered. And I'm like, do you, bitch? Do you?
Do you though?
And I'm just sitting there and I texted Cam a picture of Lana all like hunkered down right where this mouse has gone away. Indy still doesn't know where the mouse went. He just flushed the mouse out of the squash bed and he's still looking for the mouse in the squash bed while all of this is going on.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm texting Cam, my husband, and I just go, I don't know what the fuck's going on. But this is where the mouse went, so we probably need to fix that.
Mm-hmm.
Just like and there you go. So I forgot to tell you that. I don't know. Maybe that's a good intro to this podcast. I don't know.
Welcome back. The adventures of the garden gremlins and the garden girlies.
Never end.
It never ends. I mean, look, at least like Indiana and that sniff snoffer, he's gonna be able to sniff snuff all the rodents out of the garden. Not a bad thing.
Yeah, but like that's where it ends. There's zero other ability beyond that.
He doesn't finish the job. Yeah.
No.
You should talk to him about that. Yeah.
Ay. Anyways, well, welcome back to the podcast, everybody. This is What Sisters Grow. We have not recorded since May, and it is October 1st. So there's been lots of things going on, which has been very exciting. I think we both had a pretty good summer. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. It's been a summer of lessons learned, right, Brooke? On many fronts.
So many lessons learned.
So
Oh
many.
my God. Garden
So
lessons,
many.
life lessons, so many things. But it is very exciting that we're getting back on the podcast for a very special fall episode before I go off and have a baby. Because I thought everybody deserved an update. People really liked the podcast, were you surprised? I mean, I was and wasn't.
I think it was at the beginning. It's a weird thing to sit there and ask yourself if you're engaging and funny and people actually want to listen to you. Actually, I had somebody tell me the other day that that you specifically were a national treasure.
That's so alarming.
But I think the fact that we're pretty casual and chatty and we both work full time and our backyard gardeners on the side, I think it was surprising, but then the longer I thought about it, not surprising because I think we're both very relatable in different ways and not
Yeah.
ethereal in any capacity. So no, I think
No.
that the feedback's
No.
been great. And I've gotten feedback even from people I know personally about how much they enjoyed listening to it every week. So yeah, I don't know. What about you?
I didn't find it surprising. I'll never forget I had a marketing person tell me that a lot of my quote unquote brand, which I don't really think I have a brand, I think it's just me, is like I'm that neighbor you can come talk shit with over coffee or a cocktail in your coffee. And I was like, wow, yeah, that's the energy I really aim for. So the fact that that's what's coming across is
Yeah.
good because yeah, I just want to fucking hang out,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Talk
know?
about
Like
plans. Yeah.
I just want to talk about plants. I just want to hang out. I'm not trying to sit on my pedestal and be like, I am the all-knowing garden goddess. I'm not trying to do that, and neither are you. It's just like, can we just all be friends?
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
I don't need another preacher pastor in my life telling me what to fucking do, right? Like I just need some garden friends. So I was and was not surprised. We will have a very exciting announcement at the end of the podcast, but naturally we're going to make you wait. Naturally, we're going to make you listen to us talk
Obviously.
shit for the next
Obviously.
hour before we do that.
Uh,
So, Miss Bailey, it has been 5 months since we have recorded this podcast. So, dare I ask, what's been growing on?
so many flowers. So many flowers. It turned out so
I'm so
great. So much
proud of
better than
you.
oh, thanks. Me too. I didn't know if I could do it. And it's always we were recording back in the spring when I didn't even have there were no actual plans. It was like seeds,
Oh,
hopes, and dreams. That was it. That was it. That's all.
but that's
That is how it starts. You just have to have a little bit of faith that it's gonna turn out okay. And the beginner, it's okay to fail. It's okay to not be good at everything. It's okay to have lessons learned. But yeah, the summer was really fun. I mean, I learned a lot about what does well in what place and, some things that I thought I would really enjoy growing that I really did not end up enjoy growing that I probably won't do again. So, yeah, we're here in central Ohio. We're kind of coming down from the summer and heading into fall. And so there's definitely a transition going on. So I'm back in that place where I have a lot of new things I'm having to learn, which has been good. But yeah, I'm now self-conscious again about how often I use and just so that's stated on the record.
remember how to set up the recording room, and now Bailey is self-conscious. We're just back at episode 1 at this point. We're just
basically,
back.
basically, yeah. So it's been really fascinating. I mean, I've been sharing it with Brooke and a little bit on my Instagram page, but like zinnias have been insane. Like bigger than I ever anticipated. And they've definitely been the star of the show the whole summer. They do really
Yeah.
well in that little garden back there, and they're definitely growing towards the sun. But it's been really fun. I've been going out pretty much every Saturday or Sunday morning and doing a little harvest for a bouquet in my house, which has been really fun. And, the dahlias finally decided to show up in September. God bless America in that journey. Dahlias can be very finicky. And because the spring was so wet,
You
so
guys,
wet.
I don't even, can we describe it as wet, or was it just like a monsoon or a swamp? I have never, I mean, I lived in Ohio for 10 years, and I don't think you guys just had so much water.
So much water. And
It
I
was
had
wild.
several dahlia tubers that we planted when you were here in mid-May that
Yeah.
rotted in the ground because
It just
we had
rotted,
rain
straight rotted. Yeah.
into June. It
Yeah.
was insane. Yeah. So it definitely I have some stuff I want to try with dahlias next year. That'll be really interesting. But the garden was fantastic. I don't know. As a beginner gardener, it was very scary. And especially with the way Brooke and I planted the garden. I mean, there's literally a video of me shoving a Cosmo bush out of the way because I couldn't get I'm trying to get through the jungle of zinnias and cosmos just to be able to get to the back of the bed. So it's been really fun though. It's been really, really fun as a first season. So
Well, and also when we planted it, so that I woke up that morning at your house and my pregnant belly had officially popped and I was like, the fuck do
Mhm.
I do with this? Like, how do
Mhm.
I operate? So I'm
Yeah.
standing around your garden like Winnie the damn Pooh, looking around, and I vividly remember looking at you and being like, so how do you want to do this? Do you just want to put stuff places, or how do you want this organized? And I think we were both just very overwhelmed with everything happening around us that you were like,
Mhm.
let's just put stuff places. Which, good and bad decision, it sounds like.
Yeah. So here's the deal. I think I would advocate for anybody who has a new plot. Like that space was brand new. As
Yeah.
if you listen to season 1, we had taken it up with a hoary knife. Everything was brand new. Everything was
That
brand new.
episode, the knife that won the hot dog fight. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, sorry, go
So
ahead.
no, you're good. It was a brand new plot. And so when we made that decision, I was so overwhelmed by the number of plants in that moment that I said, just plant them. I'm so sick of looking at them. I'm sick of moving them. I'm sick of them being in these damn cups.
Just
Like,
get
I'm just
them
done.
in the
Just
ground.
dig a hole, put them in the ground. I'm done. If we all recall, seed starting was very stressful for me. So I was
Yeah,
done.
but you crushed it.
And it went super well. And I learned a lot. However, the placement of all the plants, if that is you, I will say, take this with whatever grain of salt. It was a very, very, very valuable exercise because, and you and I have talked about this, because we had stuff kind of scattered everywhere. I now have a much better idea of what grows well where.
Yeah.
Now that I have a first season, next year I will be planting things in rows so I can actually get to stuff. And I will be planting things in certain areas because the zinnias do super well over on the right side, but the dahlias do better, much better on the other side, closer to the deck. There's more shade, and it just
Yeah.
I will not do cosmos again. I'm not doing that. We could talk about that later, but it's just it's been a very valuable lesson. So if you do have a new plot, you're not super familiar with it, I honestly would recommend it for the first season. Wouldn't recommend it every year. It's very chaotic unless you're doing something that's more, if you're doing just wildflowers, how about it, sister? But if you're doing something a little bit more controlled, I don't know. I'm not doing that again. Say that much.
Well, and my version of that being more focused on vegetables is I finally successfully grew carrots last year. So I'm like, okay, I think I kind of know how to do this. I actually put carrots in every single one of my veg beds
Mm,
for the fall
mhm.
just to see where they grow well. Because I have
Yeah.
no idea. I know exactly where to put my onions, exactly where to put my melons. I know exactly where to put my potatoes. But there's some stuff that I'm still kind of honing in on. And I've been in this garden for the spring will be my third season in this garden. So it's like,
Mhm.
even non-beginners,
Mhm.
there's some of that can be really valuable.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what's going on. I'm sad that the season's over, but
What grew on like
that is what grew
previously.
on. Yeah.
So what's growing
Yes.
on like right now? Because
Oh.
our dad came to visit you and I had to hear about how many tulip bulbs that you had. He was when I say this man was dumbfounded. And he was also dumbfounded about how much time and brain power it took for you to figure out where they were all going to go. I don't know if he was just observing you
Yeah.
think. I'm not really sure how
Yep.
this was going on, but yeah, tell me about what's going on like
Mhm.
right now.
Yeah. So, yes. So Tom was here over the weekend, and Tom and husband Matthew were watching a lot of football.
So much
And
football.
Bailey can only watch so much football before her brain feels like it's gonna start rotting out of her brain. It's just
Well,
there's only so many
especially
hours.
do you guys do the quad box thing where there's a million
I
games
can't do
going on
that.
at once?
I can't do that.
I mean,
If you can
I've
sit,
learned I've learned how to do it, to be clear, because that's what happens in my house. But the
what
quad
actually
box,
see
it's like,
anything?
what?
I hate it. How do you see anything?
Anyways, I mean, you kind of have to see it all at one time.
No, no, I disagree. Now, here's the deal. You either have to deal with the quad box or you have to deal with the people flipping the channels. right? So like
Oh, see, that makes
either
me nauseous. I'd rather have the corks.
here's the problem though. This is getting off on a tangent we don't need to get on. But here's the problem. Now that all these sports channels are getting aired on different streaming services, the
Yes.
they can't just press the back button, right? Like there's
No.
no more back button, so you can't
The
just
channel
flip.
the channel flipping is harder.
Channel flipping is harder. However, there's now more screens that you have to go through and watch. So instead of just feeling like I'm having a seizure, I feel like I'm having a light show seizure because there's so many screens just to get to the other page. It's insane. So, so they were watching football, aka flipping channels. It's the same thing these days. And I'm over there with my iPad and my little sketchy guy, my little Apple Pencil. And I literally went out with a tape measure. So I went out with a tape measure that morning. However, the precursor to this is I had already ordered bulbs and picked them up before I even measured.
And there were a lot of them.
I have 200 tulip, allium, and daffodil bulbs.
Okay,
Of different
but
varieties.
real quick, to clear the air so that you don't sound like such a psychopath.
Yeah.
Like the bulbs, spring bulbs are planted very close together.
So that is,
Like
I
very,
was
very
trying to,
close together. So
yeah,
this is why when people, because I have 100 daffodil bulbs coming, and I'm sure people think I'm fucking insane. Just so that we don't sound like total psychos, let's just set the record straight of like why when people talk about spring bulbs, they talk about really high volume.
correct. So I'm going to get off on a little bit of an existential tangent here for a second. But to your point, so depending on the size of the allium or the daffodils and tulips, I think are typically like a standard size. Alliums can be small or pretty big. You plant them anywhere between alliums, you're going to plant the little ones, you plant 3 to 4 inches apart. The big ones, you
Yeah.
plant 6 to 8 inches apart. And tulips, you plant 5 inches apart. So to your point, I mean, look, I did the math, boys and girls. I could fit 300 bulbs back there, and I only got 200. I did the math.
So we should appreciate her for having some goddamn restraint.
Today, yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I mean, here's the other thing. If you look it up, the germination rate on tulips, not
Yeah.
super great. Not super
be
great.
kind of a
It totally can. And there's a podcast that there's two flower farmers in Ohio that I listen to. They did a whole episode on growing tulips as a flower farmer. It's very fascinating. I highly recommend you go listen to it if that's something you're interested in. They talk about the tariffs. They talk about the diseases that a lot of the tulips are having in Holland right now. So it's shortening the supply. There's a lot of that stuff. Because quite frankly, we are backyard gardeners, so I don't really care about this. But for flower farmers, they're not making a lot of money on them because of the tariffs and everything else. They are very expensive, and the germination rate is not super great on them. So yes, what's going on right now? Dad, bringing it back around. Dad was watching me with my little Apple Pencil and all my measurements, trying to figure out exactly where I was going to plant all of these bulbs so that when I go out to do fall planting, I know exactly where everything is going to go. And I'm not doing what you and I did in the spring where it's just like, and go. So I have a plan. Whether or not it gets executed the way I think is going to be different because once you get out there, sometimes things happen. But we are getting ready to plant fall bulbs. So I am going to be amending the bed, especially because it's a new bed. I feel pretty strongly about putting compost down and tilling and refertilizing the soil and all that kind of stuff ahead of putting the bulbs in the ground. And then we have to winterize here in Ohio, all the things. So all our perennials have to get cut back. Annuals got to get pulled, retill everything, and compost. Gotta mulch a little bit. So make sure all those, the rhizomes for the irises and everything else are kind of tucked in for the winter. But you don't really want to do
all the stuff.
Yeah. But you don't really want to do any of that until after the first frost. So it's kind of a waiting game.
You know what, though? I will say it sounds like I have this very romanticized thing in my brain about how you have the first frost and you're just sitting there with your cup of coffee and you're like, oh, well, it was a great season. And then you just go out there once it warms up a little bit, with like
Mhm.
a hot coffee, and then you go out and you like do all your winterizing with some heavy clothes on, and then you come inside for a cup of soup. Like, I don't know. I
Mhm.
have this very romantic, probably because that never happens in Texas. So I have this very romantic, idealized like
Mhm.
day of putting the garden to bed. Like of just like making it a special day. I don't know, maybe I'm nuts.
No, that's kinda how I'm feeling. So I've gotten all my bulbs from a local plant place and then also an order from Eden Brothers. So I'm trying to get all the pieces and parts because that's exactly what I wanna do. Like,
Yeah.
I wanna have a Saturday where I can kind of just enjoy the day. It's nice and crisp, get my coffee, and kind of just say goodbye to the season, but then also kind of
Yeah.
sow seeds, to some degree for next season. Because I'm also coneflowers. Those guys should get planted in the fall because they use cold stratification just to bloom the next year. So
We learned
those are
this in
also
the
gonna
spring.
we we did, God bless. So those will also be going in. But I romanticize it as well. So I'm hopeful that that's kind of I'm hopeful that that's what happens, but going with the flow.
Go with the
So
flow. Gotta just go with the
yeah.
flow.
So that's us here in zone 6B. What's going on with you? What's growing on
Um,
with you?
so what grew on over the summer was a whole lot of nothing. No, it was no, there was a lot that grew, but not a lot that came out of the vegetable garden. So it like
Oh.
things grew, but I think I finally brought this all back to I for years was very, I don't want to say obsessed, that feels aggressive. Very tied to my soil amending. It was twice a year. You amend the soil. This is the way. I have a process, like a whole thing. The last 2 years, last year I got married. I was busy. This year I'm having a baby. Busy, right? So I tried to cheat my way through the last 2 years and it showed. So, like, we did have pretty rough weather, I will say that. The weather was tough. We also had a very wet beginning of summer. We were still having a bunch of rain in mid-July, and I remember texting you and our parents being like, "The hell is going on?" Normally, we're in a drought, so that was definitely bizarre. My rain garden thrived, so that's cool. But the veggies just did not. Now, granted, we did at some point talk about my method of planting the spring summer garden was to drop plants in a hole and cover it up with my foot. So it's like I did I I was busy giving love to the child I was growing and not the garden I was growing, which is okay.
Mhm. Mhm.
But I definitely kind of came back to this idea that, okay, I'm not taking care of my soil, so therefore my soil's not taking care of me, right?
Mhm.
So I was determined to change that for the fall, which I did, and we'll talk more in depth about that later. But yeah, so what grew on, my roses were growing, so that's great. The roses all look really good. I have a couple with black spot, but that's okay. That's easy to manage. You just kind of trim it off and move on with your life. So yeah, the roses did really well. I had some other projects that are going really well. I did a partnership with Kellogg to amend my bed. Yay me. I grew some big cartoon-like sunflowers that were so fun and caused such a stir on the interwebs. And I planted squash, and now I planted all of that back in June, July. It's now October, and like I'm about to have a squash fall. Like,
Yeah.
I'm so excited. There are pumpkins growing, Seminole pumpkins, there's candy roaster squash, there's honey nut squash. Like, I am the happiest little camper. And that's the thing. You have to think about that stuff so far in advance. But now it's
Mhm.
just like big and beautiful and glorious. So yeah, what grew on was I grew a whole child, which as of the recording of this podcast, I could literally have any day now. So by the time everybody's hearing this, might already have a kid, who knows?
Yeah, you.
Could could happen anytime. He's almost 7 whole pounds, which is cool. So he's healthy, I'm healthy. I had to get to a point where I was very disappointed in my summer garden. And I had to get to a point where I was like, I was growing more important things. you know, there are more important things happening in my life than the garden, and like that's okay. So, yeah, that's kind of what grew on. What's currently growing on, which the internet probably really won't see, is that I have been a staunch advocate against chaos sewing. Yeah.
Oh, this is okay. All right. Okay.
However, however,
Oh God.
when
Man,
when
I thought
you
we were on a good track there. I thought we were
nope,
on a good track and aligned
nope,
track. And then you said,
nope,
however.
nope. However, when you are carrying around a child inside your body, you want to know what's not fucking happening? Getting down on the ground and painstakingly planting all these teeny tiny little fall seeds. Not fucking happening, okay? So, it's just not. So I over purchased seeds knowing that I was going to fuck around and find out. Okay?
I'm
When I tell you there are thousands of seeds in my garden right now,
mm, yeah.
spacing be damned.
Mm-hmm.
There
Mm-hmm.
are thousands of seeds in my garden right
I could just imagine you standing out there, especially after all the chaos of the summer garden, just like taking the packet or even you need the little t-shirt gun thing that just sprayed. You know what I mean? Just all over the place. I could totally see.
You know what I did? I literally was dumping the seeds into my hands and sprinkling it like I was seasoning the ground. I was just like, oh, just a little salt sprinkle. And that's what I did. And then I took a little rake that I could stand and use and I just gently raked everything into the top of the soil.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have been out there watering every day because it's still 90 degrees here in Texas. And let me tell you, this is either gonna be magic or tragic. I can't figure it out quite yet.
Look, we should have gotten you. We were talking the other day. We needed to get you one of the little extender claw clip things, the shark teeth on the end, so you could just
I
drop.
have one
Why didn't you use it?
for these teeny tiny little seeds. No,
Well, I
remember
don't
what I
know.
said is I needed to have a PVC pipe that was
Oh,
like
that's right.
super tall,
A
and
seed,
I
a
could
seed
just drop
slide.
seeds. Yeah, a seed
A
slide.
seed slide.
So I was a little organized. I did carrots all in one row. I did beets all in one row. I was a little organized in that respect. But even
Okay.
I was like, oh, zinnias, whole pack sounds good. Sprinkle, sprinkle, sprinkle. So we'll see what
Those big
happens.
seeds. Oh my God. Do you
Oh,
normally, just a side note, do you normally seeds start your fall? I mean, I know you're not doing it this year because of everything
yes.
else going by, but okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay. But this is,
Well,
okay.
but there's so much more fall veggies that you direct sow, right? So
Yeah.
like if you would seed start broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, all that stuff. I bought all
Mhm.
those transplants this year because
Okay.
number one, seed starting that stuff is a pain in the ass. It
Mhm.
just the seeds are so teeny tiny, so I would happily support a local business to do that for me. But then with all these root crops like turnips, carrots, rutabagas, radishes, not even just root crops, but green beans, sugar snap peas. All of this stuff prefers to direct sow in the ground, which we can do here very easily because we have such a long growing season. So that's what's growing on like right now. And then I did get 2 more rose bushes in the mail yesterday because transparently, today's my first day of maternity leave. And that was my gift to myself.
You're planting them in honor of
Congratulations.
maternity leave.
I'm planting them in honor of myself because
Yeah.
I got promoted back in the spring at work and work was a lot. Like it was not a year of coasting in my professional job. And the
Yeah.
fact that I managed to crush it at work, double my Instagram following, create a podcast with my sister, grow a human being, um, keep all
Yeah.
my dogs alive, which like sounds easy. Get to know them.
It's not.
And it's So yeah, this was my 2 roses. This was my reward to myself for like crushing it.
I like it. I like that. Thank
personally.
you, Heirloom Roses.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Heirloom Roses. I'm very excited about it. Okay. The best thing we learned. This is going to be over the last 5 months that we haven't recorded.
Yeah.
So Bailey,
Okay.
I feel like this is such a loaded question for you.
I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot. So I think the top things that come to mind, I kind of already mentioned, if you're a beginner gardener or you have a new area and you're trialing different plants, kind of like what Brooke just said, honestly, just try it. You always have next season. You always, you can always start again. But I think that was one of my most valuable lessons this year because I have a much better understanding of where I will plant things next year and how things do in that bed. Second thing, I'm not growing Cosmo bushes anymore. And yes, bushes. It wasn't
No, you grew Cosmo trees. I don't know those words. That
they
is
were
not a
5 feet
normal
tall.
Cosmo plant. Yeah,
They were
that
5
was
feet
wild.
tall. It was the
Yeah.
craziest thing I'd ever seen, and it was such I gotta be honest with you, it's kind of an eyesore at some point because it was really I think it was getting really huge, but I don't think it was
Yeah.
supposed to, and it was dying all the time. The
They
plants
get
were
a little scraggly looking.
they're very fragile. They're very
Yes.
fragile. They take a
Yes.
lot of they're very fragile and they you have to pick them at the exact right time and they're beautiful flowers if you can keep up with them, but they're kind of ridiculous. They're very delicate flowers. I won't do it again. Yeah, I think zinnias are the perfect beginner plant in my opinion. I've had a ton of success with them. Dahlias, the thing I'm going to try. So the best thing I learned dinner plate dahlias take way longer to grow than your standard little pom-pom guys.
Yeah.
If anybody has comments on this next thing I'm going to say, please share them. I'd be very interested before I try this. I did see somebody who actually started their dinner plate dahlias in pots inside under grow lights earlier in the year.
You were telling me about this. This feels
I'm
like it could be such a cheat code or such a disaster.
I'm fascinated by it. I really am because my dinner plate dahlias, like the Nicholas water lilies, I'm getting 2 to 3 blooms a day. The cafe au laits, I've had one and it was this big. So it's been very fascinating. The dahlia thing, I think I'm going to get some different ones for next year because I tried 3 different varieties this year. I've got to actually pull the tubers for fall. But yeah, I think I'm kind of learning a little bit more on the dahlia side. And I love dahlias. I do really love dahlias. So I will continue to grow them. But I need to figure out our dahlia season here is 5 weeks at best.
Yeah.
At best. Because it still gets
You think
hot.
it's like that on a normal year?
I don't know, Brooke, because dahlias like the warmth of the day, but the coolness of the night. And you got a short season of that.
You had a weird first year for dahlias.
Had a weird first year for dahlias because they were kind of all over the place. They didn't really
Yeah.
like certain areas. I had some that rotted in the ground. I did
It was
not
so
stake
wet.
them. I did, yeah, but I didn't stake those Santa Claus dahlias, and it's a jungle back there. It is a jungle. I get back there long enough to like pick my dahlia and get out. Like I don't know what's hiding back there, but it is. I stake your dahlias. So I
I
think
don't
I
know
learned
what
a lot about
critters are back there, but I don't
I don't
want to
want to
know
know.
either.
I don't want to know. Whatever is back there, it's fine as long as it's producing, I don't care. But those are my biggest lessons, I think, this year as a beginner gardener, especially with that plot. So, um,
Okay.
yeah. What's the best thing you learned?
Oh, so many things. I'm not the garden defeated me this year for sure because I just didn't take care of the soil. I mean, that's probably the best thing I learned was that like I have a process. The process worked for a lot of years and you can't cheat the process.
Yeah.
You just can't. I tried to
Yeah.
do it last year. It didn't really work. My summer garden last year, my fall garden, and then my spring and summer garden this year. And I had to kind of be like, what did I do or what did I not do? Ironically, that's when my Instagram blew up because I was failing so hard and making fun of myself that people were like, me too. And so, like, that's weird to think about. Yeah, yes, I think taking care of my soil, which is funny because it's not a net new thing I learned,
Mhm.
right? Because I already knew it. But it's one of those things where it's like, okay, this is something you can't cheat your way out of. It's kind of like eating healthy and exercising, right? It's about what you do the majority of the time, and sometimes you can cheat it. There are small seasons where you can kind of cheat your way through it. You can't cheat your way through the basics of soil
Yeah.
health. You just can't. And I tried and it didn't work. So it's just the moral of the story. So that was definitely the best thing I learned. And kind of like I was saying, the other thing I was getting so frustrated and I was so upset about it. And every time I looked out my back window, I just felt like such a failure. I was like, I can't believe I have 120,000 Instagram followers and this is what my garden looks like. Like, what is going on? And then I finally got to a point where I was like, you know what? Growing other things in my life right now is way more important. Like
Yeah.
it is okay for it not to be a priority. It's okay that it sucks. It's okay that it looks bad. Like to your point, there's always next year. There's always
Yeah.
next season where I'm able to bend down to the ground or carry a bag of compost
Yeah.
myself. So I think letting go on an emotional level was the second best thing I learned. Just being like, you know what? This is fine. This is fine.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that was the best thing I learned.
I love it. I mean, look, it speaks, I think you hit on a lot of really important topics, but I think it speaks definitely to the importance even of self care. You know what I mean? When you don't do the little
Yeah.
things consistently,
Yeah.
it can add up to big things. Not all the time, but sometimes.
Yeah.
And look, we all go through seasons. You and I talked in the podcast last season about how do what you have the capacity to do. If you live in a rental
Yes.
where you can't have a huge garden, you just do a porch pot garden. There's other
Pots. Yeah.
options and
Grow
just do what
bags.
you can do. Right. So it doesn't have to
Yes.
be some big garden. It doesn't have to produce. It has to bring you joy. Whatever size of garden. See,
Yeah.
this is the other thing. This came up in my brain a little bit ago and then I lost it. And now it's come back. I also think people who get into this, they get very fixated. Either it's an all or nothing mentality, very binary. It's either like, I don't want to do
Yeah.
it at all, or I want to be a flower farmer, or I want 5 acres of land to grow vegetables on. What about just something you can
There's
manage?
there's no middle ground.
No, 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 which
But
is
but I
like,
think I think that's the result of the internet though. Like I
ugh,
don't not to like
yeah,
totally get off track here. I don't think that's how normal people, right? Like
mm-mm,
operate, right? I think
yeah,
I think that's a result of the internet. And I mean as many people as are on my Instagram being like, "Oh my God, you could double, triple, quadruple your space and you could grow all your own food." And I'm sitting here like, that's not the goal. I'm just trying to hang out. Like I'm just trying to
yeah,
have fun. I'm just trying to grow the best tasting tomatoes for a few weeks out of the summer. Like,
yeah,
but for some reason, the internet culture of it all is like, to your point, it's like you grew one dahlia. You are the most talented flower farmer. You should just go for it. You should quit your whole life. You should quit your whole entire life. You should go
yeah,
move to 10 acres in the middle of nowhere and become
yeah,
a flower farmer and post about it
yeah,
on the internet and act like you're
yeah,
a fucking ethereal garden fairy. It's like,
yeah,
no. Like that
no,
is I just I just want to grow dahlias for 5 weeks out of the year and have it be special.
yeah, right. And it keeps you present, makes you
And like that's
grateful.
okay.
Yeah, agreed.
Like that is I actually think it's better. I think if more people existed in the middle ground, right?
Mm-hmm.
We would have so many more people gardening,
Mm-hmm.
planting,
Mm-hmm.
landscaping, doing things that are good for pollinators, doing things that are good for the environment because it's not taking over their whole fucking life.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yes.
So, this is
Yeah.
I have such a
I
thing
know.
about it because
I agree.
it's like you and I both have jobs and this is a fun hobby for us.
Yeah. Jobs, lives,
Jobs,
social
lives,
circles, families.
husbands, friends,
Yeah.
families. There are so many other life is so multifaceted.
Yeah.
But then sometimes, to your point, it's like, oh, you like flowers? You should disrupt your whole life.
Yeah.
Doesn't that sound good? And it's like, no, it doesn't.
It's
That sounds terrible.
it's okay to like, and it's okay for hobbies to grow into passions and passions to become careers. Like there's plenty of
Sure.
people. We need those people. We need those people.
Yes.
But not everybody has to be that way. And I think that's You
No.
asked me at the beginning about if I thought our podcast was, resonated with people. And I think it does resonate because it does. You and I do have full time corporate jobs with a lot of responsibility. Backyard
Yeah.
gardening is just a really super fun thing. And quite frankly, I don't need to be a flower farmer to still get joy out of growing flowers. It's literally not necessary. So,
No, I don't need to grow all my own vegetables or grow all
yeah.
my own fruit. Like I just when I think about the values that I want to instill into my kid and
Mhm.
hopefully more kids, it's just be present and enjoy peach season.
Yeah.
Enjoy the few weeks where those peaches are at peak ripeness, right? Enjoy the sweetness of winter lettuce, right? Like
Yeah.
I don't need to sit here and be like, you need to grow all your own food.
If that's
Anyways,
something you're into, cool. But it just doesn't
great.
have to be
But it's
the
okay if you're
whole, yeah.
not.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a total tangent. Do you want to move on to no dumb questions?
These are my favorite. Yes, they would.
Okay, so we pulled these from some of my latest Instagram posts, and the native pollinator people did crawl out of their fucking holes, and they need to crawl right back in. So I won't be addressing the native plants or all that shit. I won't be addressing the sunflowers and how they're toxic. They're not. I'm not going to be addressing the lies of the internet. The lies. The native plant people are crazy. Like
I
there's something there that I don't understand. If I talk about a daffodil that I purchased, all instead of them being like, cool, a daffodil, they're like, do you even know about native plants? And I'm like, yeah, bitch. I have a whole bed of them. Like, what? It, go take your
you
internet
know
rage
what?
somewhere else.
Yeah, yeah. It
It's
makes me
so
question
weird.
either they're just
I
internet
don't
raging
understand.
generally, or if the worst thing they're doing ragey on the internet is pollinator plants. I'm good. That's fine. I'm comfortable with that.
It's such a
That's
good way to look at it. If the worst version of yourself is yelling at people about plants on the internet, a little comforting. A
yeah, I'm
little
good with
comforting. That
that.
means that means you're not more of a trash person.
Yeah.
Or I'm more concerned, why don't you go plant some fucking native plants? Go plant a damn tree. You're clearly not busy. You're on the
Yeah.
internet yelling at me about native plants.
Yeah.
Anyways, I said I wasn't going to talk about it, and here I am. Okay, amending soil. So
Yeah.
somebody asked how I amend my soil. I'm going to let you go first, and then I'll go because we
Yeah.
we have
So
different goals, and we're kind of in
we
different. You're winterizing, and I'm ramping back up.
Yeah, so for me, we planted so in the spring, we put down a pretty decent layer of compost and then mulch on top, real mulch, not pine straw mulch. Um,
Triggered. So triggered. I guess I'm still finding it in the fucking garden. It's
I
like,
know, sorry. I'm so sorry. Anyways, so ahead of the fall season, I do have a certain compost I get from one of my local nurseries here called Unicorn Dew. It is all locally sourced. I think we've talked about this in prior episodes. I'm gonna need a lot of bags. I think I'm gonna need at least 3 or 4 bags. So effectively, I'm gonna try to kind of move the mulch the best that I can, get all the, compost down, get it tilled into the ground, and then probably pile some of the mulch back on top as far as composting and refertilizing goes. At this point in the year, we're not supposed to be fertilizing rose bushes, anything like that. The fish fertilizer's done. So it's really just about winterizing at this point. So especially some of the delicate flower, the rose bushes and some of that stuff, you may need to cover them, cage them, whatever. But for us, from an amending the soil perspective, especially in zone 6B, it's really just about fertilizing and giving nutrients to the soil to break down over the winter so that by the time your bulbs are ready to start coming through in March, April timeframe, they've got enough nutrients. Because the reality is that the ground freezes and there's nothing's going to be going on there. So for perennials, once you cut them back, you do want to kind of tuck them in with a little bit of shredded leaves or straw or something along those lines, especially if you've got irises, the rhizomes, your peony bulbs, anything like that. You kind of just want to put some straw down, but that's how we're amending the soil for the fall.
Nice. Nice. Yeah. I still just I need you to make like a reel about a cozy day putting my garden to bed. And I need you to
Great
make
idea.
good soup or something. I need to live vicariously through you because I'll still be wearing a tank top.
Yes, that's fair. That's fair. I think I can handle
Um,
that.
so how I amend the soil, I have a lot of clay. And fun fact, I did not amend my own soil for the fall, so that's a whole story that we'll talk about in the most feral thing that happened. But the way I would normally go about this, a lot of people ask about amending soil, and I think people have this idea that you just put stuff in the ground and the stuff grows. No, that's not how that works. You have to feed the soil, and the soil will feed your plants. And
Yep.
if you take from the soil, you have to think of it like a bank account. If you take from the soil, you have to give back to the soil. If you just keep taking and taking and taking and taking, your bank account ends up at zero.
Yeah.
You have to put something in the bank account to be able to take things out, which is my very small speech about that. So, the way that I like to amend garden, like vegetable gardens, you want to think about microbial life, you want to think about fungal life, you want to think about honestly gross shit. You want to think about decomposed animal shit or decomposed. Wow, that
I was
pregnancy
just gonna
brain
let
hitting
you keep
hard.
going. Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, you were just nodding very confidently, and
Yeah.
I was like, that didn't taste right coming out of my mouth. Any kind of compost that uses a chicken manure or all kinds of stuff. So that's gross shit number one. Gross shit number two is like fungus, like mushroom compost
Mushroom be
or
good.
mushroom be good. So really you're wanting to create an ecosystem within your soil that's going to feed your plants. So soil science is very, very fascinating. You should, if you're growing vegetables, especially, you should get yourself educated on soil science because the healthier your soil is, the more vitamins and minerals are going to make it into your vegetables, which is like super cool. So I'm also a big believer in mulch. We all know this. I Mulch is a good thing. You should use mulch. It not only suppresses the weeds, but it continues that breakdown process that continues that microbial and fungal life. Um, so that's how I amend the soil is I will add a lot of compost. Worm castings is a good one. I'm messing around with liquid seaweed, which is, yeah, I got caught up talking to the guy at the Natural Gardener. I should know his name by now. He works inside where he knows everything about the amendments, like everything.
Okay.
I got caught talking to him one day and he was telling me about liquid seaweed. So I'm kind of on this liquid seaweed thing. It's supposed to help with plant stress, which we deal with a
Mhm.
lot in Texas because we have such like up and down weather.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm kind of messing around with that. But yeah, in terms of soil amending, I don't have a specific 2 + 2 = 4, but basically just the more good shit that you put in there, the better it's going to be. It's
Yeah.
making a smoothie. Like you keep putting fruit and vegetables and good shit in there and it's bound to be good for you. All right, real quick because we are running so long and we have so many other things to talk about. Let's talk about spring bulbs because we're both planting spring bulbs this year, but we're doing it drastically differently because of the different
Yeah.
zones we live in. So tell me about what you're doing with spring bulbs.
Oh, hoping and praying. Twine and prayers.
Can you get
I
an auger? If you don't buy one, I'm sending one to you.
I know I
You
need
need
to.
an
I this is
you need an auger that just attaches to a drill so you can
I
just be like
know.
psh, 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 psh.
I have 3 drills, so I have, and I could put math out there and definitely get this done quickly. Yeah, so for us here in Zone 6B, you want to plant the bulbs after the first frost, right? Because you want everything to kind of die. So after
Right.
first frost, but before the ground gets too hard. Look, I've seen people in my zone who were saying last year they planted them at the end of December, which that's brave. I think brave,
Uh,
but you don't want there to be, you don't want it to be so hot and there
Yeah.
to be too many hours of sunlight for them to start growing. So there's kind of, it's definitely not going to be until November. That's the absolute earliest that we'll do it here in Zone 6B. But for us, at least, tulips, daffodils, alliums are mostly what's going in the backyard as of right now. I think we talked already, tulips 5 inches apart. You can plant them pretty close together. And for us, they'll probably start blooming in late March, early April. So it'll be really fun before
Yeah.
Mother's Day to have all of that in the backyard. But there's a lot of places having fall bulb sales. I think you just have to be careful because I kind of mentioned it earlier and I'm not an expert on it, but one, tulip bulbs specifically, way more expensive because of the tariffs, and most tulip bulbs come out of Holland. In
Yeah.
addition to that, they're also having a lot of pest and disease issues. So there's also a shortage that they're kind of having to battle. So I would just say the other piece to this is, if you're noticing disease early on or if something doesn't look right, like just throw it out because you definitely don't want that to spread throughout the garden. So
Oh, no.
you don't,
Yeah,
you
so the
don't.
way that we plant spring bulbs in 9A, a little different. I'm planting daffodils this year in my fruit tree guild, which is, I did a whole video about it on the interwebs. The video's getting a lot of views, which means I have officially stopped looking at the comments. Whatever happens in the comments after a video hits 100,000 is none of my business.
No,
I'm good.
it's not. Just
So yeah, I am getting bulbs from Heirloom Roses for daffodils because they allowed me to specify by my zone, which I
mhm.
don't. Growing tulips and daffodils in a warm climate is very difficult for exactly what you talked about, daylight hours and temperature. Our weather, we get winter. To be clear, we have winter. It gets cold here, but it gets cold in short bursts. We don't
Mhm.
have this consistent come down and then back up. So the timing of planting your bulbs is really important. So I will get my bulbs in the mail probably in the next like 2 weeks, and they will go into my vegetable drawer in my refrigerator.
The yeah, just the things that you find in a gardener's home is just, it can be
Honestly,
startling,
so bizarre. So bizarre.
startling.
Um, so they will go in a drawer in my fridge to simulate cold stratification or winter, right? And then I will get those planted in the ground in January. Our ground does not freeze. That's not a thing that happens in our lives. Okay, so I will get those in the ground in January, probably beginning of January, and they will start coming up in February, March time frame because that's when things start to spring. Spring has sprung here. Well, in February after we ultimately have an ice storm that takes down the whole entire power grid, but that's besides the point. So so that's the plan for bulbs. Now, I will say I'm doing daffodils and not tulips, and I'm not doing alliums either. So I'm literally just doing daffodils, and we're gonna see how it goes. But I am very excited about the whole fruit tree guild thing because I'm not. It's feeling crop circly out there, and I don't like it. I don't like it
When
at
you
all.
sent me the photo, I tried to very nicely say like, and I was like,
It's a little crop circly.
a little bit, little bit, little bit.
Whereas
And the
I think if
daffodils
we
will
just
help.
add some stuff, yeah, well, and it's not just daffodils. I don't want to get into the whole fruit tree guild thing, or we're going to be
Yeah.
here forever. But yeah, so that's how we handle bulbs differently in our drastically different parts of the country. And there's your no dumb questions. I don't think either of those are dumb questions. How do you amend your soil and how do you do spring bulbs? I don't think either of those are
No,
dumb.
no.
All right, Bailey. Our favorite segment is here.
Yeah.
What is the most feral thing that happened to you?
So I don't have one specific thing at the moment. We are starting a 4-week kitchen renovation.
I
So
think I
I
think
think
that's
the
pretty feral. I think anybody who's been through housework understands that that's pretty.
yeah, they've taken out part of the kitchen already. There was an electrician here yesterday. So far, so good. But the house is 25 years old. You never know once you start ripping up flooring, taking out walls, doing
See
any
what's
kind of
gonna
drywall
happen.
work. You just don't know what's back there. You don't. I mean, you don't. And so I am, clenching my butt cheeks and hoping to God that, everything's going to be good in the hood. I think the most feral part is I will be out of town for work next week when the real construction starts. So my poor husband's going to be here with 2 cattle dogs and a house full of construction workers for 4 days by himself. So that's feral-ish, you know what I mean? But I
That's
also not my
feral for
choice.
him, not for you.
Well,
He'll be okay.
hey,
He'll be okay. He's good
yeah,
at
it'll be
managing
fine.
chaos. He's good at managing he married you, you know?
Amen. Amen. So what is the most feral thing that happened to you?
So I'm going to make this story as short as possible. Basically, I decided, and I already talked about this on my Instagram, we brought people in to get the garden reset. It was way too big of a project. It was hot. I said, you know what? I make money off of this platform. I put it in a separate bank account. We should just use it to make our lives easier, right?
Yeah.
So we hired people. The first company we hired for just a long laundry list of reasons didn't work out, and I had to fire them the day after they came for the first time, which was sad times USA. I've never had to do that before, ever.
Mhm.
Um, but just some of the things that happened were unacceptable. The biggest thing that just put me over the edge, in addition to a lot of other things, was that this person left 3 yards of compost and mulch on the street on the
Yeah.
side of my house. We live on a corner, so it wasn't in the front of my house, it was on the side of my house. Literally dumped it at 8 p.m. and drove away without telling me when he was going to be able to come back. I did not even understand how much it was. I literally walked out there and it was like a road hazard. Like
Mhm.
the first thing I thought of was somebody driving down my street in the dark is going to run into this. There were no
Mhm.
safety cones. There was no indication in the dark that there was a giant pile of things. And so my husband and I bookended the pile with our cars so that nobody drove into it overnight. And then my husband chugged a pre-workout the next morning at 6 a.m. and moved all of that one wheelbarrow, one shovelful at a time into our backyard so that we didn't get an HOA fine or a ticket from the police.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
who does that? So that was what put me over the edge of fuck this.
Yeah.
I can't believe there were multiple other things that had happened. I did lose a couple of plants because of the willy-nilliness of the sprinkling of the fertilizer.
Mhm.
Some of my roses have fertilizer burn on the leaves from fertilizer being put on the leaves of plants, which is one of the biggest don't do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was a long list of reasons why it didn't work out. However, um what I did next was I found a landscaping company that has really good reviews on Google. I call them, I explain the whole situation. I tell them exactly what I need, line by line. Okay. This guy comes out and for a consultation, I tell him line by line to the point where I'm like, don't touch my roses. He goes, yes, ma'am. He goes, yes, ma'am. And I go, okay. So he takes pictures, he takes notes. He's there for maybe 5 minutes. I'm like, no chance he picked up on literally anything that I just said because I just had this awful experience. A week later, a crew of 3 guys comes out. They have a stapled packet of information with not only the directions, but the photos that
Oh.
the first guy took. They had instructions. They didn't even knock on my door. They just let themselves into the backyard and were like, we're good. Mission. We're on a mission. And I'm like, yes, you are. And I had a very busy day at work that day. I walked to my back window so I could see they were on their hands and knees pulling the Bermuda grass out of my beds, and I started crying. I said, wow, they did it the way that I would do it. I just can't do that right. Like, I am incapable of doing that. But if I was capable, that's what I would be doing. I would not be doing some kind of weird, stupid experimental shit. That's what I would be doing. So it was great. They crushed it. And after they were all done and they left, Cam, my husband, was like, oh my God, Brooke, you're never going to believe how good this looks. Like, come outside. I went outside. I stood at the middle of the garden and I just cried. I was like, oh, I'm going to be able to have a full garden. This is so nice. I was so relieved because
Yeah.
of just the awful experience I had had with the first company that we hired. So that's the most feral thing that happened to me in the garden. I mean, obviously, I'm about to have a baby, so there's lots of other feral things happening that I'm not comfortable sharing with the world. But yeah, in terms of the garden, if you're going to hire people, make sure you're very specific and hold them accountable. I felt very bad for firing the first company, but there's a level of accountability that comes with my hard-earned dollars
Mhm.
that was not being upheld, that I was just like, you know what? Fuck this. This isn't.
I'm going to throw something else out there, though, that you and I did talk about of having an honest conversation with yourself about the things
Yeah.
that you are willing and comfortable outsourcing versus the things that you are not.
Yes.
Because the reality is that when you hire people, they don't know about your relationship with Heirloom Roses and how much those rose bushes, mean to you.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
doesn't mean that there should be any level of like carelessness necessarily when you hire people, but
Sure.
there's also a level of like honesty you have to have with yourself about the things that you are unwilling to compromise on how it's being done.
Yeah.
And to your point, like, being very specific and uncompromising if you are going to have somebody else do certain tasks.
Yeah. And there's certain things that I'm perfectly fine with it being done a different way.
Yeah.
But there's some things where I'm like, no, I'm actually not okay with it being done that way.
Yeah.
And I think that's okay. I'm kind of a people pleaser at heart, which I think is probably surprising to most people because I come off pretty staunch. But like when you're in front of me and you're telling me something, I'm like, oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I yeah, that was quite an experience. Well, and while I was going through all of that, I was also severely anemic and going through all this iron infusion stuff, so I didn't feel good. It was not a fun time. It really wasn't. But that's okay. We learned.
Yeah.
It was pretty feral. I wish I could tell the whole entire story, but in the contract it did say that I was not allowed to disparage the company. So if you notice, I never said the company's name one time.
I think it's okay. I think it's okay for us to just leave it where it's at. I think it's been rectified and we're gonna move it. We're moving on.
We're gonna move forward. Speaking of moving forward and moving on, the future of the pod.
Future of what
We
sisters
promised it at the
grow.
beginning.
I know. And now if you've made
We're
it
gonna
this far.
restart.
Yeah. Yes.
Do you want to
Yeah.
announce it? We didn't really say how we were gonna do this.
We're back.
Starting in January because I'm taking maternity
Starting.
leave.
Yeah, it's starting in January. So Brooke and I talked.
Starting in January.
Yeah, Brooke and I talked, and here's the deal. We love the people that are engaging with us on the podcast. I think, we are really at a point in our lives where we appreciate our backyard gardens. I think we want to inspire other people to do what they feel comfortable with doing. I think it's cool that we both have different interests as far as flowers versus veggies and everything else. So people really enjoyed the podcast, and Brooke and I enjoyed making it and connecting with people and connecting with each other. I think that's also really cool, especially as we get older and life happens. So coming 2026, we are back. What Sisters Grow, hopefully weekly podcasts. So
Yep.
coming to you soon. All the feralness, all things growing on. Please keep sending in your no dumb questions to Brooke. And yeah, and we'll see Brooke after she has what did she say the other day? I'm going to have a whole ass baby.
Whole ass baby.
I'm going to
The
have a
whole
whole ass
thing.
child.
I built him myself. A whole ass baby. Not a half a baby, a whole ass baby. Yeah. Yeah, no, we're gonna come back in January. We're super excited. I think it'll be really fun. When we started this last year, we did start in January. I think not the beginning of January, but there'll be so much fun stuff to talk about. That's when I'll be seed starting for the spring. It's gonna be really cool because by the spring in the summer garden, our baby will be old enough to start solids. So how fun is that? Like,
Yeah.
such what a new exciting way to think about the garden.
Yeah.
So I'm pumped about that. You'll be looking at seed catalogs, dreaming and planning and doing all this stuff. So yeah, I'm excited that we're gonna try to make it more of a permanent fixture. And I think it will be really nice to take it through the whole season, right? Because we like stopped in the spring and then came back for this episode, but I think it's going to be really nice to actually keep going through the
Mhm.
like thick of the season where
Yeah.
ultimately it probably just gets more feral.
Um, Amen, sister. Amen.
Oh, and our mom, Debbie, there were some requests for a what mom
Mm,
grows. So
yeah.
I think we're gonna try to see if Debbie will join. You think
Yes.
we can
Yeah.
convince her?
I think so. I think so. I think she would enjoy it, like hanging out with you and I on the pod. Yeah.
Well, because now she's starting to get into medicinals and tea. She's like
Yes.
getting into stuff that you and I aren't even into.
No, no, no. And she grew up in a totally different environment. Even though you guys are still in the same zone,
Completely
her
different.
her situation very different than yours or mine. So would be interested. She
Yes.
grows out on property but she's a small-time gardener. So, she's
Yeah.
not growing rows of vegetables on the all the acres that they have. But yeah, I think what mom
No.
grows is gonna come on and it'll be fun.
That'll be
Another new
fun.
season of life.
That'll be fun. Yes, yes.
So,
All right, Bailey. Well, we should probably go ahead and close this out.
yeah.
This has been fun. I'm glad we did it. I'm glad we did
Yeah.
it before I had a whole ass child. Uh, that's good. It's very
And
good.
the next time we all see you, you'll probably have said child. So we're looking forward to having
I
you back.
will. I hope so, man. I'm over this.
That's probably a whole
It's
nother
kind of
podcast
feeling
episode.
it's feeling it's never gonna end, but I know it will, you know what I mean? It's like,
Definitely,
so
yeah,
anyways, but yes,
definitely
the
gonna.
next time you'll see me, I will have a child. I will hopefully have a routine with said child in January, but also we all know I thrive in the chaos, so maybe I won't.
More to more to come.
All right, well, thank you everybody for listening. We can't wait to come back in January, and I don't remember how we used to close these.
Wasn't there a thing about like follow the podcast, like, subscribe, listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube?
Yeah, you did so well. I don't even need to do it. You crushed it. Good job. All right. Well, good luck to everybody in your fall gardens, whether you're putting your garden to bed the way that Bailey's going to, or if you are just kind of re-ramping up the way that I am. Good luck in your gardens. We're so excited to see you next year when we are ultimately probably two different versions of ourselves. But I think that's kind of the whole ethos of growing, right?
Yeah. Till next time.
Till next time.